Do you struggle with putting yourself first? Are you tired of feeling burnt out and overwhelmed from constantly putting the needs of others before your own? I have created a sacred space that will be available once a week for 10 weeks to learn, dive deep, and create your boundaries to boost your confidence and self-worthiness. Go to www.krista-luna.com and sign up for the Master Your Boundaries course starting in September 2023. And use the code PARANORMAL to get 30% off today on www.crsta-luna.com.
Well, if you go back to Sumerians and the Anunnaki, and we talk about Utnapishtim or Ziusudra, which is also Noah, that fable or that story, if we were the only civilization at that time, and a flood was about to happen, and in Sumerian mythology, it was the guy on the earth that helped Noah, which is the Satan equivalent in the Christian Bible. So, and it was the guy in the sky, which is the Christian God, who wanted to kill humanity. So there's a flip in that too. So essentially Satan helped man to create, and survive the flood. But the thing is, they have this civilization, it's advanced. They go up for 40 days and 40 nights, perhaps not in a submarine, maybe a spaceship, a rocket of some sort, and hang out in the waters above. But when they came down, they had to make up for lost time. So then they divided. All of a sudden, there was two camps. And they're both working for the same goal, but they had two camps in order to make up for lost time of this one camp. And then but there's still only one God. This camp tries to appease the God. This camp tries to appeal that God. God favors one camp over the other. And then they start fighting against each other because they all want love from the same God. And then you multiply that over the years. And I theorize that that's the reason why we have all these borders and divisions, because we're all fighting for our version and belief in what God wants. And we're fighting with each other when we should be working together.
I mean, yeah, there's so many people that could be put like at the precipice of this, of that theory of like the person behind it that's trying to put us pissed against each other. Like there's so many different groups, so many different people, so many different societies that could be like
the cause of it. A universal result of daddy issues. The entire world is, looking for dad. Or mom, let's it's possible God could be a female as well. Let's not rule that out. Or some mommy issues, the parental issues, right? Because we were created, we know that. We don't know how we got here. We don't know how to be raised. We're just raising ourselves on our own. Let's, why don't you come back and tell us what's what so we can get along?
See, I was brought up as a Protestant, so I grew up believing the creationism theory. And then once I went rebel and stopped wanting to be that, I totally became a full believer in the evolutionary theory. And since I got into the paranormal like a decade ago and really got into it. I mean, I was always into paranormal, but when I really got into it, I started questioning everything. And that's the scary thing, is I don't even know what to believe anymore. Like, is it one or the other? Is it a combination of both, or something I never heard of?
Or none of the above.
Exactly, yeah. Like I said, that's something I never heard of. Like, it's got to be something. But
this idea of God existing could be made up too, because we have.
I'm a big believer of that one.
But we need something to look forward to. We need to believe that there's an afterlife. We need to know that this is there, because why would we continue to work on, in some places of this earth are bad? Why would we continue to endure that? right?
Well, I mean,
Unless we knew that there was something we could get in return for working longer to pay for taxes that go to a program that we have absolutely no control over.
I'm
And
a big believer in the theory that I've been told is true by a lot of mediums and psychics, because they've said they've heard this from spirits.
mhm,
Is that the big? I mean, the fact that it's another dimension, or it's some. I mean, it's a dimension, or it's something else we don't even know exists yet,
mhm,
and it's basically a waiting room at the DMV where your spirit goes when you pass,
right.
and you come back. You get reincarnated as another person on Earth, or if you reached your ultimate goal, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
you may get to go to someplace that is unknown. Some may call it heaven, but it's unknown what it really is. But they say the afterlife is just like a DMV waiting room, which maybe maybe that's purgatory. Maybe that is purgatory, but I don't know.
And the other thought too on that subject is, if they are as powerful as we believe them to be, then they have control to come in at any time. They can do whatever they want at any time. They can present themselves at any time. So why, if that's possible, why don't they do that? And if they can't do that, do you really think human civilization is powerful enough to tell these extraterrestrials not to interfere with us? So they would have to work together, but why? And if they don't come in and hijack over us because they have the capability of doing so, do they actually exist?
Well,
You see, this
I
is
mean,
so, and the problem, the root of all of this, and again, studying the people, if you normalize it, right? Normalize it down, what makes sense is that the human beings were left, God left, and we've been spending all this time winging it, trying to figure it out.
oh, like the supernatural theory, I like to call it, because God went on vacation to explore the cosmos for a good couple of thousand years.
That guy owes.
I like to call that supernatural theory, but
so no pun intended there. Hey, Lisa, I see you in the chat. Hi, Lisa.
oh, hello, Lisa. Thank you for watching.
Anyways, I mean, I'm having fun with you this morning. This is my first time I had a morning podcast. It's not serious. I'm normally serious with my stuff, so I really appreciate exploring these things. I don't want to, where do you want to go?
Oh, I mean, if you want to keep going for a little bit, I could make it a two-parter. I was kind of going that route already anyway, so
it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm down to go more. I'm having fun with you. So
yeah, if you got more questions, let's go.
Well, you brought up aliens, so let's knock down the theoretical glass like Stone Cold here and go down that wormhole. Because I mean, you just made me think of X-Files the way you're describing it, like with the humans and aliens having a deal. Like I always go back to the old X-Files, Smoking Man and Alien like groups having deals. And
yeah, but see, that doesn't make sense. So okay, let's just talk that through. We're an extraterrestrial race that is so powerful, and we come from a million light years away, yada yada, and we want to make a deal with you, talking apes, and we promise that we won't do anything harmful to you in exchange of doing all these other things. So the business deal with the aliens, they could kill us. There's a threat, so we have no choice to do that. But what is threatening about us? That if we were to say no about that deal, so why do you have to make a deal with us? Just do it.
Here's why. And this, I mean, I live in Gardner, Massachusetts. I've said it in my podcast before, so I have no problem saying it. But I've been told, and it's a huge UFO hotspot, and I've been told it's because of the minerals that are in the mountain that we live on.
Right.
And I've been told we're basically a refueling station for UFOs.
Okay.
So maybe we're not exactly a commodity, this planet.
So
maybe we're just a gas station.
To make sense of that, I often thought about that too, because to hide that, that allows us to work. That allows us to get things that we need to do and spend our money and have a good life to distract us, because that belief that we need to do all these other things. When we pay taxes, taxes go to the government, and the government does all these things to help us, but then the taxes go elsewhere too. So if the taxes are going elsewhere to pay for people to do all these other work elsewhere for all these other things, that would make sense. And then because there's this idea that we need to do all these things to get these things, and if we don't do these things, we lose these things, we go to jail. But taxes don't actually exist. The story of the taxes was simply when in the Roman times, where they're like, here's 5 coins, you have 5 coins. When I come back in a month, you're going to give me 7, you're going to give me 7, but there's only 10 coins. How do we do that? Well, figure it out. I come back to collect. Thank you. I got your 7 coins. That's my 2 coin interest. Where is it? Well, I only have 3 coins because I gave 2 coins to him. Okay, well, you owe me. Well, where am I going to get these? Well, and then that's how that started. And then currency, and then we're going to get in, what we're now we're looking into cryptocurrency. Money is also the root of all evil in terms of.
Oh yeah, money was created by man to control man. That's all it is.
We have that belief because if I don't work, I don't pay for these things. If I don't pay for these things, then I lose these things, such as the house and things like that. But I need the house because I need to live somewhere. But yet you go to like third world countries, and some of those kids can be very happy despite how much they're suffering. They don't have television, don't have that. They've been doing pretty good roughing it, but they're happy. Some of them are happy. We have everything we want in these beliefs and all this other stuff, but we're miserable because we don't know what we're working for.
Exactly.
We know we have to do it. We trust the system. We understand the system, but we haven't seen the big purpose. And the government doesn't tell us that. But someone has to know the end game. Someone has to know. So what do you think the end game is?
I see. That's where, to me, it always goes back to extraterrestrial. It has to. Whether you want to call it God or Allah or any of the other names out there for it, in the end, to me, it's always got to be extraterrestrial in origin or ultra-terrestrial in origin as well. Could be as well. Mm-hmm. But there's something out there that we are working towards. I gave up on the idea a long time ago that, I'm going to be a good person because I'm going to go to heaven. Like, I gave up on that when I was a freaking teenager because that's what teenagers do. But
good belief. And the Romans also used to sell tickets to heaven. They would sell papyrus with your name on it for $1. You have to purchase that. And that guaranteed you. Yeah, that started with the Romans as well. And Romans, like that's when Catholicism and all this other stuff came in. That's when all of a sudden the God in the sky, which is Enlil, and the God in the earth, Enki, flipped, because in the Christian Catholicism, right, the God, Lord of the sky, is actually the Lord of the earth, and the Lord of the earth is actually the Lord of the sky. So when you remove the names and look at the characteristics, the Christian Satan is the Sumerian Enki. The Christian God is the Sumerian Enlil. But the Sumerian Enlil didn't give a shit about us. The Sumerian Enki gave a shit about us and helped us. But in Christian, that's the bad guy.
Yep. Okay. I'm a huge fan of Milton's Paradise Lost.
Before that was the same. Everything. And then Romans come in, and then now we have taxes, now we have this, now we have that. That's what happened. But why did they decide to change that? Everything that's happening right now is consequence to us living this way. These old habits haven't been broken. But why did they make that decision to make the change then? Why did the Romans change the calendar? Why? So what do you think their reason was to do this whole changeover then? And that's not that long ago.
Yeah, and it seems like it is, but realistically, it's not a long time ago. But they say it has something to do with farming, supposedly, and that's why they did the whole change of everything from calendar to daylight savings time is because of farming. And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it for farming, but I mean, could it be as simple as that?
And that makes sense for
Maybe.
us to universally communicate within this world and working together. That makes sense. However, when you're doing measurements on trying to figure out the world's problems, that is not an accurate tool to use because that's not the correct date. It's not the correct time, and we're not in the correct place. We're using the wrong method.
I agree 100%. And I don't know. I think personally, I don't know. I mean, part of me wants to believe it's just because of farming. Like, it's just, oh, farmers need longer days, so we're going to make daylight savings time. Like, I get that. That can make sense almost, but I mean, I hate time zones. As a podcaster, I freaking hate time zones.
Yeah,
It's
challenging sometimes.
I've podcasted with people in Australia and the UK, and it's just trying to set up a time to do it is freaking impossible sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't done anyone in the UK yet because I don't feel like starting my podcast at 3 a.m. So,
I mean, I typically try to go like on Saturday afternoons or something with them. That way, it's only evening for them. It's afternoon for me. But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, the calendars, I can't explain why they exist. I know there's different ones. I know different ones are still active. I mean, the Chinese have a completely different calendar than us. Like their year doesn't start till, what is it? January, February? I always forget, but
yeah, I forget that one too. February, I think.
I think it's February if I'm not. I think it's right around Valentine's Day, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah,
I could be completely wrong on that. But it's strange because like, why all this? Why do we need different calendars all around the world? Like, it should all be we all should be on the same day at the exact same time, and it would.
We were given the freedom to make these changes, and that's because there's lack of parenting. That's what I mean. God left, gave us, here's the plan. Everyone copied it, and then all of a sudden, they're like, "Well, he ain't here anymore, or she ain't here anymore. We're in charge. We're going to run the world the way we want it," which is why we need that being to come back to be like, "Hey, sorry, I was off saving another problem. Now that I'm here, let me set everybody straight." The absence of God with the belief of God is very dangerous for humanity.
Yeah, I mean,
like, would you work for a company and not be able to meet or communicate with the CEO?
I mean, I worked for companies like that before where
CEO I could exists, right?
Supposedly. And I could email him or her supposedly, but will I ever get an answer? Who the hell knows? But
you got to follow your chain of command and things like that too. But I mean, like, the company's got to run. Who's running the company? So if God's in charge of this company, where, this is how we're supposed to be, or are we on the bottom level where we're just, keeping the cycle go? Depends on what division we are in this business. And that's the slave, that's the farming, that's the whole thing. So what are we doing on this sub level to help those in the middle class who are helping those in the higher class? What the hell are they doing?
Exactly. I mean,
You're helping them.
Nothing. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's just, I agree 100%. I mean,
hang out on the other side of the ice wall where everything's free energy. Like, are there just more slaves in this entire thing? Because someone's got to be living good. There would have to be a purpose. Otherwise, we all should be living good.
I mean, I've heard a theory before, and as hard as for me to believe it. What if this originally was just a planet and the dinosaurs were actually the creatures that lived here? And we all were invading species and we just killed them off because we wanted the planet.
Yeah, and that's possible. And how would we do that? Well, someone would have to be able to control a meteorite to do that, on point to do that, and somehow not kill us, because there's also evidence that man walked with dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
So, so not a single theory. Everything is theories and opinions.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
The only thing that we can trust is what we see for ourselves and what we measure for ourselves. And with the Experience Your Support Association, the philosophy on that essentially is, no matter what your belief is, you know, help each other, don't fight each other, work together. Once you figure out, so what if the earth is flat? So what if if God it doesn't exist? So what if aliens exist and we're working for them? Right now, they're not eating us. They're not hurting us. They're not doing anything.
Well,
Unless
let me ask you that though.
So there are experiencers that experience this phenomenon. So is that God? Is that extraterrestrial? Or is that the government implanting these ideas so that way when God returns, we think he's the bad guy? Because
I could see that.
they took over when they know God has been absent. They also have to be prepared for when daddy comes home. And if we believe our people over them, this fake alien invasion and all this other stuff going on makes sense because we're afraid. But you know, it's Ragnarok time. Like,
have you heard about that? That people are hearing supposedly that in 2024 the aliens are supposed to invade, and that the UFO release was them trying to test how ready we'd be.
Well, that would make sense. I've also heard 24. In part of my download experience, 2024 was the year of contact. This year for me is Unity. The year before that was Deconstruct. Yeah. So anyways, I had this 5-year plan essentially of how the world was going to unfold with this vision of mine. And so far every year has just been the theme of what things have been happening. So contact for me was 2024. And I learned about that from other circles, just recently, that is also a shared date. So I find I resonate with that quite a lot because I didn't hear about it until I knew about like many years after I knew about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense completely. And I mean, I see the whole idea of like humans and dinosaurs living together.
Mm-hmm.
I think we still do to some degree, because I mean, and this is one of my favorite topics in the freaking world, but because you got Macaulay Mbembe over in Africa, and you have raptors and a tribe that worships them in Chile, and you have thunderbirds, which could very well be in the Southwest America, pterodactyls, which live in the cave systems of the Hollow Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
many different perspectives and what do they see and what they draw them differently, but they very well could be the same thing. These thunderbirds could be spaceships with fire coming out of the exhaust. These dragons could be that. Dragons could be dinosaurs. Those dinosaurs could be a lie that dragons exist because they have wings. But where are they? Do they still exist? And I'll go back to that map where it shows Antarctica uncovered, no ice. All of the mystical beings exist there on this map. So imagine that the way to wipe them out was to cover that continent with ice. How did that happen? I don't know. But if we could go beyond that, and these beings exist beyond that, it makes sense. But that would also mean that we're in a container. So in order to rationalize and make these things real, we have to accept some of these chaotic theories. And then once you accept some, it starts to make sense, but you still can't prove it. So, only thing, the safe route is be good to everybody and hope that when we die, we go somewhere.
I mean, have you heard the theory? Have you heard about Macaulay Mbembe though? Because some people haven't.
Yeah. Alex Mistretta, the cryptozoologist that I mentioned earlier, who fights me tooth and nail that Bigfoot is not a extraterrestrial being. He studies that quite a lot, and he's quite knowledgeable on that. And I've learned quite a lot from him on that.
Well, Lisa actually asked, or stated, is there a God, or is it what people made for their own beliefs, customs, and needs? And I kind of could see that, like that's or a control mechanism is what they were making God, what God got made for, is a control mechanism.
Well, we'll come back to Ghostbusters, where we started at the beginning. They're just recently in my mind, Gozer comes out and says, "Are you a god?" And no, I'm not. Okay, then die. So, so obviously there's some factions there, right? And of course, Winston always says, Ray, next time you're asked if you're a god, you say yes. I love that, But I mean, what is a god? A god is someone we revere, like, and it's interpreted. It's someone empowering. I could be a god to someone if they worship. You could be a god. It depends on that worship, where that comes from. So ancient astronaut theory, right? That's us sitting here, and we all of a sudden have the Anunnaki show up here, and they teach us all this other stuff, and we learn all these things, and then they leave, right? We're on this planet now. Imagine we're able to leave this place and we're able to land on the moon. That happened, and there was civilization on there. Would we not appear to them as gods if they were inferior to us?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened. It's a common trope on a lot of science fiction shows that we go to another planet and we're considered gods because of everything we can do. But
you know what I am more concerned about? I'm not concerned about us landing on a planet, again, allegedly, if we can get there, and finding extraterrestrial life. I'm concerned about us landing on another planet and finding human life, more of us. That would be more frightening than...
Yeah, I mean,
anything.
There's that famous meme on Facebook I always see, and it makes you think, because it says, it's like, what if Adam and Eve were the last two Martians leaving a dying planet and they crash landed on Earth?
Yeah, that's very possible. And if you pay attention to look closer to the Sumerian stories or of creation, it's quite possible that the battle and everything took place on Mars, and then they left Mars and came here. So there's some evidence to suggest that too. But did they come to another planet, or did they create this environment, simulation? Because the Matrix, wow, I didn't think I could find another rabbit hole to go, but there's one there.
Yeah, I mean, well, I had one guest on. I don't remember who the hell they are. I really got to look back at my laptop to try to figure it out, but because I bring this up all the time, and I never can give them credit for it. But they had a theory that, well, they didn't have a theory. They heard a theory that there was actually, I think I know what the guess was. There was basically a cube where Earth is now in space, and extraterrestrials built Earth around it, and the corners of the cubes are the pyramids that are all around Earth. So basically, it slid on like a child's toy, almost like when a child slides the ball over the cube.
Yeah, that's weird. I haven't heard that one yet, but that's interesting.
What if that's true? What if we're all living in that cube and we're in the Matrix, plugged in, and the world we live on is just what they create around the cube?
Well, what if when we dream we wake up?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's right with the Matrix theory too. That's trippy. That's trippy. But
yeah, like we don't. This could be the dream.
I believe. I mean, if this is a dream and I could do a paranormal podcast, and I'm down with that. But that's 100% true.
Well, what is reality like? That this is enjoyable.
Yeah, that's the question that you ask when your mind starts clicking like it's about to explode like a bomb.
Is this a fantasy because it's worse out there? And that's the reality when they get unplugged from the Matrix, is that it's worse out there and everything is fun in this fantasy world. But there's, Yeah,
I get that 100%. I mean,
but how do you prove that? You have to
exactly.
You have to die.
I mean,
and I'm a big activist on anti-suicide. So I mean, I really don't want to encourage people to who believe that there's a guaranteed afterlife, and they think by doing things like that, they're gonna automatically connect to this source. it hasn't been proven either. This idea with ghosts in the afterlife might be some evidence that there is some energy that exists after we die, but we can't even determine whether or not that energy belongs to a spirit that we think it belongs to, or it's just our imagination and our beliefs and our wants. So even in that, it's misinterpreted. So there's so much risk. So what I'm trying to say is, let's just live our life the best way we can, and when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. And if there's something out there for us in the end, we'll know then.
I agree. I mean, I definitely am against suicide as well. I am not an advocate for it, but I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, what if when we go, we are unplugging from the Matrix, and the world we go to is just horrible. Like, it's a destroyed world. It's just us being slaves or cogs in a machine, and maybe that's what people see when they see hell. Because I've talked to a lot of people on the show with NDEs, and a lot of them have differing stories about where you go and what you see.
Oh, NDEs. Let's talking about having a non-disclosure agreement is a breach of a non-disclosure agreement. I just want to put that out there from a lot.
No. NDEs, not NDAs.
Oh, I thought you said NDA. Pardon me.
No,
so
NDEs. Yeah.
I heard NDA. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. So that's just another UFO problem with this NDA thing is another buzzword. But like, I just wanted to point that out. NDA, saying you have an NDA is against the NDA. Sorry, I just got. My wife doesn't know I'm doing a podcast. 1 second.
It's all good. But I mean, yeah, I mean, so many people with NDEs just have different stories about what happened when they died, and when they came back, and they come back, but their stories are different about what happened. Which, if it was basic religion following,
did they go to the next place, or did they come back to reality? Right, like it's so, and I can understand why people want to go there, because it's fascinating and it's interesting, but that's on the belief that what we have right here, that there's something better, but it also could be worse. So what we need to do is make the present as best as possible, because this is where we are, and this is the only thing we can guarantee right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, I mean, I've had NDE experiencers tell me that, like, I've had 2 different ones say they saw hell. One of them said they saw purgatory and they saw heaven too. One said he stood in a dark room, and a door opened, and there was a figure in the door. He couldn't see what the figure looked like, but it was a shadow figure in the door, and they talked for 3 days until he decided to come back.
Well, when you have this belief already, and you go to these places, you're going to see things that are familiar with your beliefs. So what happens if someone who is agnostic or atheist doesn't, and was born that way, was raised that way, doesn't even know all the things we talked about today? What do they see when they have an NDE?
Well, I mean, I can't remember if any of the people I wrote. No, everybody I ever talked to was always brought up Catholic or Christian, but
and that's influence. It's influence because we believe that that's what's happening. So that might be real. Nothing could happen.
Mind-blowing. I said a mind-blowing idea here. What if agnostics and atheists who are born that way, what if when they die, they just die? They don't have NDEs because they have nothing to believe in, so they just shut them down.
And then that maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe that's the reality. Because if we build, so if that is true, because if you look at the individual, nothing lost, nothing gained. I didn't know that. When I die, nothing happened. I know that. I'm going to live my life as long as I can because I know that this is all I have. But on the other side, I believe in heaven. I believe in this. And I know that it's guaranteed. And I look for it. And then I die. And then I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't heaven. This isn't what this is hell. This is worse. What is this? There's that reality too. It could be much worse than we believe it to be, and then we're stuck with it. So I think it might be easier to believe it doesn't exist, but it doesn't matter. You just gotta live your life.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly the way I do. I mean, I live my life. I'm not trying to live for any deity or any person besides my kids and my wife. But like other than that, I ain't living life for any reason. And I don't know. It's just I believe in spirits. Yes, I 100% do because I have one in my garage. Like I believe in it. I've seen the video proof of it, and I have talked to enough people who have seen spirits to believe it. It's 100% true. I mean, that many people can't make up stories and have me believe them. That's just impossible.
Right.
I mean, you can tell when someone's lying, usually, at least I can to some degree, unless they're master at it, which I don't think any of them are. They're just regular people like you and me who investigate things. There are a lot of fakes out there, like you said in the first half of this show. There are a lot of fakes out there, and what I don't know who they are exactly, but someone just got busted. Like in my group of paranormal investigators I talked to online, someone just got hugely busted, and they are now being accused of using fake evidence to try and make themselves famous. But so I mean, it happens all the time, though. It happens every couple months. So some group has been faking their evidence, like it comes out.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just I don't know.
You're. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're muted.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I was just about to write you a sticky note. I was going to say I can't hear you. I didn't know if you could hear. I didn't know if you could hear me.
There we go. That's better.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry, my headset wanted to die on me, but
It's okay.
So I mean, it's funny because I had a paranormal investigator, Lon Strickler, out of Pennsylvania, tell me that he has reports of dragons coming out of Pennsylvania mines.
Okay.
So I mean, it's to me, it's a whole like, are they real type thing? Like, are dragons still existing since dinosaur times, or?
But I'm just saying, it's just it would be all over the place because we can't tame them, we can't control them. They're powerful, so they may have used to exist, or they exist on this plane somewhere else. And when we're using our minds, we're seeing them elsewhere. But it might not be in space. It might not be. It might be in the future. It might be in the past. It might be somewhere else on this planet that we don't know about. Otherwise, all these things would just be free roaming like we are.
But what if they're intelligent enough to realize human beings are killing us?
Well, if they're super intelligent, then we are ants. We're not needed at all.
I'm not saying super intelligent. I mean, It's the same as what a lot of people believe about Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Like, a lot of people don't believe that he's super intelligent, but he's intelligent enough to know.
Yeah.
These creatures, humans, kill me when they see me, or they used to at least kill me in ancient times when they saw me.
Right.
So I'm gonna go hide, and
Right.
I'm gonna go stay away from them and avoid them like the freaking plague.
Right.
What if dragons are that intelligent too, or dogmen too? Like that, maybe that's why they attack us when they see us, because they're scared we're gonna try to kill them first.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not. But okay, so I'm just looking at the time. I'm getting paged here. I am over the time that I have another timing that I forgot about. So
it's all good. It's all good.
I'm reminded of that. So if we could make another question, or
I mean, why don't you just tell listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, okay. So you can find me personally on Facebook at facebook.com/Heat in the World. I'm also on Twitter. I'm more active on Facebook. Facebook's the best place for me. the Experiencer Support Association is the group that I've created. There's resources there for investigators, resources for experiencers. There's a podcast on there. It's called Beyond the Tinfoil Hat that airs every Thursday at 8 p.m. And it might get postponed for a little bit because I have to get caught up on some cases. But on the website, there's examples of my work, latest update declassified documents. There's latest investigations. There's, the latest stuff and whatnot as well. So that's experiencersupport.org. And there's a page on there. If you find it, so search for it. It'll link you to everything else that I've ever done. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad we could have you on, and we'll definitely have you back at some point because I'm sure we could talk for another hour and a half. So
yeah, I'm sure we could. And I would keep going too, but it's Saturday morning, and
I get it. And
everybody's up now, so I got to go.
Yeah, my kids are getting active too, so I understand. So, but all my listeners know where they can find me and where they can see me. Wherever you're watching this, please like and subscribe, or wherever you're listening, please like and subscribe. And Ryan will definitely get you on again at some point. And I advise all my listeners, go listen to his podcast because I'm going to. I just listening to him talk for the last hour and a half. I am interested in everything that he comes across. So
the podcast, just to be clear, is this one is designed to give opportunities for others to explore how they come to the reason that they are. So the investigative stuff that you really want to get into, there's a program called Uncharted Case Files. But I do a segment at the end of the podcast where I usually talk about this stuff. But that podcast itself is more so an interview based. I either believe you or I don't, though. It's kind of interesting because I'm an investigator. So you tell me and we'll go from there.